Oh, you want to hear a story, huh? One about treasure hunters. Have I got a story for you? Pandora. The tale begins right here on Pandora with the brave vault hunters, the guardian angel, and most importantly, me.
Borderlands 1. We're getting around to a video talking about it. This game was released in 2009. All the way back on October 20th, 2009. Borderlands 1 was released on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. This was a huge release because it was the first kind of game to really grasp what a looter shooter is. There may have been titles before it, but nothing quite hit like this one did. Nothing hit like it, where it has the legendaries and it just did it so perfectly. They had the uniques. That's a huge thing. They had, I think they even had pearlescence in Borderlands 1, which was also a really big thing. But I don't think that came till the DLC came out, but still a very cool thing that they did. But to have a very solid story along with a very, very good looter shooter mechanic system, it was really good. The looting system for Borderlands is pretty much untouched, especially when it came to Borderlands 1, 2009. I mean, goddamn, you had nothing like this. You had nothing like this coming out. I remember back when Borderlands 2 was a thing, I was looking for anything like Borderlands for a looter shooter, and I genuinely couldn't find anything that scratched that itch besides Borderlands. But I think we gotta finally talk about this game and try and decide if this is the best Borderlands game to ever come out. You know, it definitely is a mix between this and Borderlands 2. And it's really hard for me to decide that because Borderlands 1 and 2 are so fucking good. And I'd say one does one thing better than the other. And then, the other does one thing better than the other as well. They both have their strengths and they both have their weaknesses. I'd say the strength for Borderlands 1 is its gameplay. I don't know if it's pure nostalgia that makes me feel this way, but this game just feels easier to play. It feels like there's less moments where I'm like, oh god, I gotta do this. I gotta play this part of the game. I'm not dreading certain parts of the game when I'm playing through it. For Borderlands 1, I'm having a fucking hell of a time the entire way through. When I replayed this game only like a month ago maybe now, I did every side mission I could. I played through the entire thing. I went crazy. And I was having a ton of fun doing it. It was a fucking blast, man. I was having a blast playing it. And I just did do Borderlands 2 recently as well because I had to get the platinum and I had to replay through the entire game to do it. And there were parts like the Bloodshot Stronghold. Wasn't looking forward to that part of the game. There was just like the end part of the game of getting to the boss fight that I don't like. Just like there's these small detour spots like getting to the bunker I didn't really like as well. Was not a fan of that. So there are certain parts of the game where it's just like I'm not a huge fan when I'm playing through it. But the story of Borderlands 2 is 10 times better. And their guns can be a lot more satisfying to use. Like their snipers are a million times better in Borderlands 2. The builds for your skill trees are 10 times better. The characters that you're playing as are way more fun. But in Borderlands 1, just the simple gameplay and certain guns in the game just feel great to use. And the way that the game plays feels a lot better. I do think that a part of it is pure nostalgia for me because Borderlands 1 really just... I feel like I can play through that game over and over and over again and just have so much fun while playing through it. But Borderlands 2, I inevitably have those dreadful moments. But yeah, Borderlands 1 story is fucking weak compared to Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 story is the best in the franchise. They're never going to do anything like that again. They're never going to get even close. Borderlands 2 is unbeatable when it comes to the story. Handsome Jack is amazing. The way the story plays out, the people they kill off, the way they do it all is fucking perfect. The story is great. It is really, really good. The fucking the twists and turns through the story are so good. But in Borderlands 1, it's kind of ass. It is. Like, the main villain just kind of dies at the end. The main villain is pretty lackluster, and then like the vault was like, what the fuck? Okay. You kind of knew what you were getting into with the vault in Borderlands 2, but you kind of didn't think that this was going to happen in Borderlands 1. But definitely playing through Borderlands 2 and then hearing, like, playing through Borderlands 1 makes it kind of interesting because you know who the person is that you're being guided by. But still, man, it's just like, it's not really the story that does it for me in that game. It's just the gameplay loop, the simple missions, and it's such a straightforward game. There's not really any constant detours or anything like there is in Borderlands 2. And every fucking that's when it starts. Borderlands 2 is where it starts. We're like, let's make it so nothing is simple and everything's a fucking detour. And that was annoying as shit. I mean, in Borderlands 1, you got those save claptrap missions on the side, which were really fun. I mean, all the claptraps are kind of dead in the second one, so they can't really do anything like that. But you have all these small things that are just so much fun to do. You have the random Skagzilla mission, which is just so fucking cool that's just a random side thing they decided to do. It's just like everything felt so much more impactful in Borderlands 1 when it comes to just the simple world and the gameplay. It just felt like there was so much more impact in everything. I really don't know how to explain it to anyone why this game is as amazing as it is. It's just when you play it, it's really a thing where I don't know if it's nostalgia, and there's a good chance it might be because I've never really seen someone try Borderlands 1 for the first time. In like this day and age, I haven't seen someone try that game but then not try like Borderlands 2 or something, right? I feel like everyone would kind of just prefer Borderlands 2, but I'm on the fence. I don't know if I'd prefer Borderlands 2 over this game, because after you beat the game once, the story is kind of not a big deal. So for replayability, I feel like I kind of like Borderlands 1 more, but for pure grinding and going for loot and stuff, Borderlands 2 will always be better than any other Borderlands in the game. I think when it comes to farming and everything, Borderlands 2 hit that perfect spot where they're like, you can pretty much farm anything in the video game. But for Borderlands 1, I don't really know, because I never really farmed in Borderlands 1. I never found myself doing that. It's only in Borderlands 2 that I tried. And then pretty much every Borderlands after that, they don't really let you farm as much as you'd want to. I think I'll leave it up to interpretation whether or not you guys think Borderlands 1 or 2 is better. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe that'll sway my opinion a bit. But yeah, comment down below if you think Borderlands 1 or 2 is the best one of the franchise. I really don't think there's another one to even argue for. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, 100% not. 3, no. And pre-sequel, no. They're not better than 1 or 2. 1 and 2, they do their own things perfect. You know, Borderlands 1, in my opinion, knocked it out of the park with the gameplay. Borderlands 2 knocked it out of the park with the story. And they refined gameplay to make certain aspects 100% better. But if you started with 1, I'd say it kind of just hits in a different way. And there's just something about the art style that is different. It's the same idea, but it is different. The art style and the gameplay feels so simplified. And it's kind of nice. I don't know. It's a breath of fresh air, I'd say. We're gonna have to wait until I do my Borderlands 2 video, I'd say, before I fully decide if Borderlands 1 or 2 is my favorite. I'll say this. I'll say this for right now, without analyzing Borderlands 2 fully and going through a video on that. Borderlands 1 is the best game in the franchise. Before doing a Borderlands 2 video, if I did like a little list or something of all the games I've done so far, it's probably Borderlands the pre-sequel, Borderlands 3, Borderlands 1. I think something that makes me like Borderlands 1 right now more than Borderlands 2 is kind of the jankiness of Borderlands 1. It is a little janky and it's not really perfect, and I think that I really like that, to be honest. It's kind of just a game for its time, you know? Like, that's just how they kind of were back then. They were like a little clunky and a little weird, but they had their charm. And I feel like Borderlands 1 has that charm to it. And, you know, I guess it can be a bad thing to certain people, but for people who grew up playing it, it kind of just hits you in the right spot, and you're kind of like just happy when you're playing the game because of memories and such, and you're just like, man, games back then, they just kind of hit different. I don't really know, like I'd much rather have a game like this than something like Skull and Bones in this day and age. So that is what it is. I know I've already beaten the game of Borderlands 2 recently, so I can really talk about it, but I want that to be its own video so I can really decide and really figure out which one I do think is better. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for the video. Hit the thumbs up button if you did enjoy, subscribe my content like this, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.